All set. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call to order Woodstock's monthly business meeting for December 15th, 2022. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but this is the last meeting for 2022. But to make you happy, we're going to have some for 2023. So we can ring out the year with an exciting meeting. I'm going to go through the roll. Tim, do you mind starting us out?
Timothy Young,
Mark Blackman,
Joseph Adeletta,
Jeff Gordon,
Jeffrey Marcotte,
Joe Palulik.
and we have Dwight Reinowitz. You're on.
Sir.
And did we lose Doug? I think we lost Doug. See him on. Okay. So we're just going to have to note for right now about see if Doug comes back on. I'll note that we actually do have a quorum, which is good. Designation of alternates right now. Dwight, I will designate you.
Okay.
An early Christmas present for you.
Well, thank you very much.
If Doug does join us, we'll be able to see him. And I was Nancy Frazier told me she was not going to be able to be here tonight, and Dean Gould told me he was not going to be able to be here tonight. That takes us to Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
Yes, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice.
Thank you. Can you see and hear us now? Okay, I'm just going to note for the record that you're here. If you can say aye or yes.
aye,
Thank you, and we get to see you.
okay,
So consider that an early Christmas present from the town of Woodstock. My reports, my usual thank yous to all of you as commissioners for doing the work you do and coming to the meetings. And my usual thank yous to staff for doing the work you do and coming to meetings and all the fun you do in between the meetings. I'm sure you have a lot of fun.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So the other thing, item I would like to bring up is, as we're aware, Dexter Young passed away recently. He was one of the, I believe, founding members of this commission. And I think the longest serving member of this commission. Certainly did an awful lot otherwise for the town, former fire chief for many, many years, long time director of the Woodstock Ag Society, former president, I believe, of the society, and a lot that he's did for the community. So if you could indulge me, let's just take a moment of silence to honor him and remember him. Thank you. That takes us to citizens' comments. Are there any comments from citizens not pertaining to anything on the agenda? Otherwise, so we don't have any. This takes us to one of the most exciting parts of the meeting, the second most exciting part, because agenda item 13 is by some people considered the most exciting. We have meeting minutes, November 17th, 2022, which was a monthly meeting, and December 1st, 2022, a special meeting. I'll open it up to the will of the commission.
Was the November 7th minutes in a previous monthly packet?
yeah.
I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't.
I printed one that I have, but did it not go out? Okay, we can table that. Though.
Okay. If
I
everybody
didn't
else
know
got
that it didn't
that's
go out.
fine.
I'm sorry. I printed it myself, so I didn't notice that it wasn't in the package.
Sure, okay.
Because sometimes I just print things. And then if there's duplicates in the packet, I have duplicates. So what we'll do then is, why don't we first then have a motion to table the November 17th meeting minutes, which would be then, when's our next meeting? So I don't know when in January it is.
Probably the first Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know the date of that. Let me see. That would be.
Looks like the fifth.
Fifth. So, why don't we do that then? Because if folks don't have a copy of it, we can, it's not urgent that we approve it tonight. So the fifth is not that far away anyway. So,
Make a motion to table the approval of the minutes from the November 17th, 2022 meeting until our meeting on January 5th, 2023.
okay.
Second.
Is that you, Mark?
Yes.
So motion by Joe Adaletta, seconded by Mark Blackmer to table the November 17, 2022 meeting minutes to our meeting of January 5th, 2023. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will go through the roll. Joe Adaletta?
Aye.
Mark Blackmer?
Aye.
Jeff Gordon? I will vote aye. Jeff Markov?
Aye.
Joe Pula?
Aye.
Doug Porter?
Aye.
Dwight Rhinowitz?
Aye.
Timothy Young? Aye. That so passes. That takes us then to the next, which is, does everybody have a copy of December 1st?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. What is the will of the commission? Move it be approved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
No. So motion by Tim Young, seconded by Jeff Markov to approve the December 1st, 2022 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta,
I'll abstain. It's not-
Mark Blackburn,
I also abstain.
Jeff Gordon, I will vote aye. Jeff Markov?
Aye.
Joe Pula,
Aye.
Doug Porter,
Aye.
Dwight Rhino,
Aye.
Young. That so passes. Congratulations, Amy. You've made it through 2022 with a continued string of approvals of your emails that you've written. Wow. Can't wait to find out what happens in 2023. Is that a motion?
Only I had the time.
One other thing I forgot to bring up under Chair's report is we did get finally to a town meeting, the update for the ordinance establishing individual cost-based fees for municipal land use applications. Remember, it's been many, many years since we last updated it. And then it got updated, that was 2013. And then early this year, we had proposed some updates. And it did pass. I was unable to attend that meeting. Commissioner Markov, you were there. So
Very exciting.
it took hours, right, to get it passed. So, but it did pass unscathed. So I don't know, did this go, was this in the new packets? The new copy?
It's on the OneDrive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't make it in time for,
If you don't mind just emailing it out.
It was in my packet.
If you don't mind just emailing it out. That way, then you can have the updated version that we're using. So. No pass. I'm glad it did get to the town meeting to be moved through, so that's good. The next is preliminary discussion. We have none, right? Don't have anything preliminary. Okay. Non-residential zoning permits, we do not have. New businesses, agenda item 7A, 372-95-03 on Heron Road, Premier subdivision modification. Delia, you reviewed this?
Yeah.
Did you want this, anything you wanted to present relative to this, and are you here for it? Okay, so I'm gonna have staff give their presentation. You're not obligated to speak. We will recognize you if you wish. We do have the application and stuff, so we will give you an opportunity. So you have a representative, I guess is here by Zoom.
Correct.
Are we able, who's on, because we can't see who it is.
Hi, Paul Terwilliger, licensed land surveyor with PC Survey Associates.
Okay, I don't know if we're able to see you, or all we do is see your logo.
Yeah, just the logo. I'm sorry, I don't have camera ability right now.
Okay. So welcome. We'll just note for the record that you're here. But Delia, did you want to let us know what this
Sure.
is and what your thought is on it?
I reviewed this, and you have my memo dated December 8th. You can see the subdivision plan on the screen. This was a pesky subdivision from 1995. And
For the turn of the century.
It
yes,
was, yeah.
so the house in lot 11, which is the one closer to the road, then, I don't know if you can see my mouse, I'm moving it here so everyone can see it. That house was already built, and when they put the driveway in, they didn't stay within the confines of their access strip. It was discovered it actually crossed over onto the access strip for the lot behind it, which is shown here in yellow. And so instead of requiring the neighbor move their driveway and then they would build their own driveway, they're asking just to create a shared driveway to access both lots. So there's no new lots created. It's just changing two separate driveways to one common driveway or shared driveway.
And anything else from your perspective? My understanding is it's a complete application for what's required for this type of
Yes.
application. Fees were paid. Have signature on the application,
I don't
so.
handle the fees, but it's my understanding it's paid. Dan, are they paid?
Let's see here. Yes.
And they, since they're not changing any boundary lines and they're not changing the use, they really are not required to provide health department approval. They will need to get that for the actual house they want to build for their zoning permit, but that's not something that has to come to this commission. This sheet of the plan, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, shows,
Let me just ask one thing. Can Dwight, Doug, can you see what's being shared on the screen? I just want to make certain it's working.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, I can as well.
just gonna zoom out a little bit. Hopefully you can still see it. So here at the bottom of your screen is Perrin Road, and the gray area is the proposed paved apron. But the driveway is already there. Maybe you can see where it says driveway, in this area with the angled striped lines, that's to be the new area of the easement that spans the width of both access strips, going back to the point where they will split. And here they split. On the right of your screen, you see where it goes to the house that's already there. And on the left of your screen is where it will branch to go to the lot 10 where Mr. Crevier wants to build his house.
Anything else, Delia?
No,
So I'll open it up to the applicant and then to the applicant's representative. You're welcome if there's anything you wish to say. Again, you're not required to. We're happy to hear from you if you so wish.
It's just something we noticed when Paul did the survey and everything like that. It's already, the apron's already there and everything, and it looks like they just encroached on it, like Talia said, when they built the house back, whenever they did, and rather than having them push over, thought it'd be nicer to be neighborly and try to get something proposed where we can both share and everything like that. So, Paul, if he's got anything else, he could probably.
Do you have anything from your perspective?
Scott Crevier, C-O-U-B-I.
Delia did a pretty good job of explaining the situation. It's pretty simple. When they built the house, they put the driveway in the wrong spot. And I think it was because of the approach to the road, these access strips come off at such an acute angle that I think they may have, in order to get, more of a 90-degree approach to the road, they kind of went over the boundary line. And I don't know, I'm assuming they weren't aware of it at the time. And I'll note that the current owners of the lot, I think they recently purchased the property, so they weren't the ones that created this situation. So they're kind of in a bind as well. We figured this would probably be the easiest solution for everyone involved, seeing as though they were agreeable to it. There's going to be a use and maintenance agreement that's going to be recorded in the land records. So anyone going forward will have to abide by, you know, any agreements that they make. But, you know, other than that, I mean, should be a pretty straightforward fix.
Thank you. I'll open it up to commissioners. If commissioners have any questions or comments. Yes, Joe Bullock?
Are these stipulations pretty standard? The stipulations in the easement, it look pretty complicated to me, but
Yeah, that's a standard use and maintenance agreement we've used anytime we've ever created them.
so they've pretty much been approved by legal. By
Yeah.
lawyers?
Yeah,
Not by the town attorney, however.
I
Right.
don't know if that was submitted to the town attorney or not.
No, I haven't.
It has not unless the commission so decides.
Just a follow-up, do we have similar legal maintenance agreements for dual driveways on other lots in the town?
Shared driveways, haven't we?
Shared
required-
drive-
Yeah, we've had many of them. I haven't compared this one to those, but I have reviewed many in the past.
And in the past, when we've done approvals, we've made approvals and put a condition in that if we wanted the town attorney to review it, if it was okay with the town attorney, then otherwise it was okay, as opposed to waiting to hear back from the town attorney. We have required them and have had them reviewed, my recollection. And also to be, to make certain we're protecting the town as well. Things I looked at.
That's what I was thinking. Should we make a motion to that effect?
If there's a motion made to approve this overall application, we can make the motion and add the condition that this be reviewed by the town attorney. The town attorney can then let you deal, fine with it, he'll let her know. If he has some issue that he's raised a concern, he'll let you know. But we've done those types of motions with the condition.
I'd be in favor of that kind of a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Doug?
I disagree. I think this is a private property agreement between two parties. I don't think the town needs to be involved. I'd make a motion to approve the subdivision modification as submitted, and go from there.
I would be willing to second that as well.
Okay,
think-
so,
I feel if both parties are in agreement and both their attorneys have reviewed this, that should justify the motion that's on the table now.
okay, well, that's the motion that's on the table. We can still, since it's a motion to approve and we're still then discussing this application, which the motion is made to approve, we can still be, as part of the motion on the table, discussing. Is there anything from other commissioners? Joe Adaletta?
Yeah, just want to comment that I have a similar feeling to Joe Palula about legal review. I'm very pleased that we have neighbors who are very accommodating and willing to do all this and work together to resolve this issue. If the feeling is of our staff that this really is a private property issue and not related to subdivision approval and review and COs and everything that needs to be approved by the town, if it's outside of that venue, then I'm comfortable with the motion as it stands. Just don't want to have something come back 5 years from now with new owners on both properties saying, I really don't like this agreement, or some problem later on. And the commission has looked at that we didn't have a town attorney at least give a review of the existing use of it. And I wouldn't hold up the approval. I think if we could make it a condition just to have the town attorney look at it and comment, I think that would be fine.
Subdivision predates this subdivision.
Well, the question is, why wouldn't it follow today's regs? It's going to now post as a shared. I'm just trying to see what our regulations say or don't say. Is required
The
or not.
original approval.
Yeah.
But if they're modifying, they have to follow the current regs pertaining to the modification, don't they? They don't go back to the old ones. This is a modification at this time. I guess, I just want to make certain that we're clear what the regulations
I'm
require.
not sure, because they're not, it's such a minor change. It's not like they're changing the lot size or something.
So I just want to make certain that we're following.
And the actual change is not, I don't have any issue with that. I just want to make sure that the maintenance and use agreement has solid legs for the future. And again, for the people who have signed it, the owners are comfortable with it, and that's wonderful. Just want to make sure the town has secure standing.
Well, in the subdivision regulations, when it talks about common driveway, it does say you have to have a homeowners association or a maintenance agreement. It does not say it has to be automatically reviewed by town attorney. Use the wording in the subdivision regulations. Says that. I don't know about the zoning regs. There's something about driveways there. So,
Could I ask the applicant? Here,
please, yes. go for it.
did you have an attorney review this?
So yes, the, Mr. What do I want to call him? Andrew Embry, the other homeowners, they had their attorney look at it and everything like that. And I was comfortable with my land attorney when we did all this, thing like that. And a lot of this is going off of Paul, the surveyor's experience with more dealings with these type of incidents and these type of situations.
So the other landowner's attorney
Yep,
has,
when we first presented it, we gave them all this stuff and everything like that, and they forwarded it, and he said they had their attorney take a look at it, and they were satisfied, no issues, otherwise they wouldn't agree to it. And I guess I just.
all right, well, that was my main concern,
Yep.
was to have a lawyer look at these
Yep.
comments.
And this would have, once this is completed and tested to, and whatever has to be done, it has to be filed. Anyway,
Yeah.
so it will be filed.
And I also followed up with, is it John Navarro, the highway?
I
I spoke with him originally when we started this. He said it had nothing to do with him, seeing it was already paved apron, approved driveway on my side. He said, you just have to come forward, and that's everything. We kind of just went after that and everything. So he had no express concern either, if you take my word on it.
We do have
But I did-
documentation.
So, good.
Like Joe,
President, just want to confirm, did you say your real estate attorney looked at this agreement?
So theirs did.
There's.
In mine,
Got
when
that.
I used Brouillard
Yes.
here in town and everything like that, and we didn't have it surveyed before and everything like that and all that stuff. And I'm confident with what their attorney said too and everything.
Okay. And I think just for the record, to make sure that we show that one of the landowners did have an attorney review the use and maintenance agreement as submitted, and then the other landowner, lot 11, had it, is comfortable with the wording and conditions of that, just so that it's in the record, that it's very clear that there was an attorney review, even though it wasn't a town attorney. And both parties are comfortable.
we can make certain that's clear in the record. For that.
Okay.
So that, and then also in the meeting.
And then just one more quick question. Does the apron, does that have to be enlarged for the two driveways, or is it just going to stay the same as it just? The apron-
If I may.
Navarro sent an email. It's in your packet. You see what he said.
Yeah, is it going to be enlarged?
The existing apron will be enlarged because the existing apron is, if you look at the shaded area, you can see where it meets the road. There's like a smaller unshaded area. That's the existing apron.
Right.
The shaded area is a proposed extension to that, and it's going to run back about 35 feet.
The area, is that what you're showing the on the screen, or the same shaded area, or the cross-hatched area? Of that driveway?
Are you referring then that about the apron being widened or just, going back? Lengthened?
No,
So-
it shouldn't be widened much. It's already pretty wide down in that area. Well, the apron, I'm sorry, the apron will be widened. There are two catch basins down by the road. One of them falls near the edge of the apron, and the apron will be widened at that point to allow water to enter the catch basin.
And it looks like John Navarro, we have communication from him,
Yeah.
that he's okay with what's presented. So we do have a communication from December 8th. He said that, let's see, "We've been out to this location, and other than a new driveway apron and a riprap line ditch leading to the catch basin to the north of the driveway, I have no other concerns with the proposed shared driveway."
So he just said a new apron, he didn't describe how much larger.
Doesn't he say that he would be having to discuss the details with Mr. Corbier?
Yeah. That Mr. Crevier can reach out to me and I can provide apron specifications and description of the ditch leading to the base. Okay. So it sounds like John is on top of that then. Okay. Anything from any other commissioner relative to? Okay, we do have the motion on the table, so I'll go through the roll. Joe Adaletta,
And the motion is approved as is.
approve as presented. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, Mark Blackburn.
Aye.
Jeff Gordon, aye. Jeff Marcotte,
Aye.
Joe Palula,
Aye.
Doug Porter,
Aye.
Mike Reinowitz,
Aye.
and Timothy Young.
All right.
That so passes. Congratulations. You'll do whatever you need to do with Celia and town, or whatever post-approval stuff.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Paper, and I'll send you all the information in the letter.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Have a good evening.
You're all set, yeah, unless you want to stay and be part of the festivities. You don't have to, though, but you're welcome.
In the near future.
But just remember, we're gonna have a meeting on January 5th, so you're welcome. Bring in the new year. with us.
Bring her back too. Thank you. Take care.
And have good holidays.
Thank you. You too.
That takes us then to old business. I didn't list subsections of old business, my apologies, but there were two items, a couple items under old business that we were bringing back up or continuing on. One was about commercial cannabis. And Delia, I think you sent out, or was email, a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Did everybody get those
Mhm.
emails? Okay. I don't expect that everybody would read the entirety tonight, although I know Commissioner Blackman probably did.
Oh, yes.
So,
Didn't finish.
so I just wanted to note it on the record, that's why. So, but there was a lot sent out. We wanted Delia to try to dig stuff up for us and see what there were for some different towns and things like that. So there is quite a bit of stuff that's been that submitted. Some of it may be pertinent to some of the things we think of for Woodstock, some may not, which is fine. And I had previously sent out the revised regulations from Wellington. If anybody didn't get those previously, and they went out some time ago, we can get you copies of those to show what Wellington was doing. But right now, on the schedule, the moratorium we have ends April 30th. Any regulations we were to want to put into place would have to go through a public hearing, and we would want to have them effective before the moratorium ends. However, we did extend the moratorium from Halloween to the end of April. And if we feel we needed to extend it farther in order to do the work that needs to be done, we can do that. We just want to see what we can do to plug away. I'll open it up to what commissioners wish to do from a process point of view. One option from a process is to digest what was sent out. And again, I can get you the Wellington stuff if you don't have a copy of it, and see what where we stand and what we might want to do relative to crafting of some regulations and things like that, or we can start delving into some of that tonight. And going through, I'm open to how you guys would wish to handle things. And again, I know it's a lot of stuff that was sent, which is okay. Delia found a lot of stuff for us, so thank you. So you're not getting samples out tonight, are you?
No.
Oh, okay. So if anybody wants to leave now, so you can. So, but I'll open it up to how you guys would like to handle from a process point of view, moving forward. The other option is let you guys digest this and we can try to put together bullet points and things like that as far as what we want to zero in on. One thing to keep in mind is when it comes to definitions, we have already a good number of definitions that we put into that moratorium that Attorney Roberts provided for us. Those are actually good definitions to use that he has suggested. So those are definitions we can certainly keep. That would save us time as opposed to reinventing the wheel in that regard. But what do others think as far as moving forward?
Personally, more time.
You guys okay with that?
Yes.
If I understand, you're right. Whatever we come up with, we have to have it.
We have to have a public hearing because it would be text amendment. Or more than one amendment, depending on what parts of the regulations, how many we have to change. Which parts. Yes. Are you okay with that approach?
Did you email this? I didn't get it.
I think I sent it to Jeff and Dan, and I figured you guys can send it out.
I didn't send it myself, so I thought it went out. I thought that was
Yeah, I
emailed to
didn't.
everybody.
I'm looking now for something on Delia. Didn't see anything going back. Do you think you Dan, send it out, Dan?
If it didn't go around by email, it should be up on that OneDrive
Okay, so,
for tonight's meeting documents.
so folks didn't get printed copies of it. Again, I just thought it was group emails and whatnot. I didn't send them out myself, so.
Okay.
So what we can do then, in that case, then, if folks haven't seen it, because we certainly are gonna need to,
Right.
make certain, so if they're on the OneDrive, you can access them that way. Otherwise, we can just, you have those emails, Delia, you can resend?
Yep.
So if you don't mind just resending them
I don't
to,
see
send them
them
out to
here.
everybody. I apologize, I thought everybody got a copy, so that's fine. We would need to, people need to review this anyway. So, yes, Joe,
And what was the gist of the emails again?
copies of drafts from other towns.
Just one other town? or-
No, multiple. Many of them.
Okay,
There's a number of them, just to show what other towns are doing. And also previously in the year, I had sent out a copy of Wellington's. And I can resend that to people,
Please,
so.
might have been when I was on vacation.
So what we'll do then is I'll send out the ones from Wellington. I have them here. And then I'll resend those, and then Delia, can you just send the group emails?
Yep.
Looking at our agendas, do we feel that folks would we have the holidays, so January 5th is pretty close. Do we want to, that gets into a different issue about what we, relative to what we want to take up on January 5th, but would that be enough time for people, if Delia sends this out, to think we would have enough time for January 5th to take this back up, or do we want to wait till January 19th?
But I'll ask first if there's any preview. I know it's early, but if Dan or Delia, if anything's heavy on the January 19th agenda.
Nothing.
We don't
Forecast
have no
yet.
subdivision plans are coming in or.
I don't know of any.
So I would suggest maybe we plan to have a fair amount of time on the January 19th meeting set aside to discuss it.
Okay, so we'll note that, then I'll note it for that. I won't
That's
put it
my-
on the January
my-
5th. I'll put it on the January 19th.
Initially, when I started here, I had a couple inquiries about opening a cannabis operation. But the conversation has trickled off completely. So there is no urgency from potential applicants that I can sense. And also a note on the definitions, if you have town attorney approved definitions, that's a good
We do.
base, that's the start of the ordinance for you.
In the moratorium, Rich Roberts had given us wording for a bunch of definitions. That's already now part of the regulation, those definitions. They're just not in the definition section, and they can be moved there, but they sit in that moratorium. That's part of what we'll have to move to definitions section. Yes, Joe, let a letter.
And I'm assuming as part of the process, we'll probably have a public hearing or an opening for people or other committees or commissions to weigh in on it. We'll let, I don't know, Conservation or Ag Commission know that maybe the Ag Commission is more important to let them know we're considering these things.
Yeah, we do send notices out to make certain the other agencies and certainly letting the public know that we do.
That we're
And we've let the public
reviewing
know
these things.
earlier this year that we were reviewing this, we had some members. One person who did come was interested in it.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that without financial backing, couldn't afford hefty state prices for certifications and the license and all of that, which is a big hurdle to get over. State certainly expensive to get a license. So
Am I wrong in thinking though, it doesn't fall under agriculture?
well, under the state law, that there is a certification and licensing process. So whether you call it agriculture or not, commercial cannabis, to be a micro cultivator and to be a seller or hybrid, to do both, is a very defined process that the state has. So that bill is a monster bill, a couple hundred pages long. It gets into a lot. But the state, I don't know if it's through Department of Consumer Protection, but there is a process to be licensed and to be certified. That the state charges for that. So that's why you don't see sometimes small operations in the state right now. That moving forward. These are bigger ones that have a financial backing.
Just wanted to ask Jeff why you were asking. It's just,
It,
does it seem agricultural to you?
it makes perfect sense, but in conversation that we've had, it seems to me that the state didn't look at it that way, that they didn't fall into agriculture.
Well, there was a couple of reasons why the state did that. One is, remember, federal law lists this as illegal. And technically, federal law trumps the state law. The feds are not enforcing their law, but there are federal issues that, there's some banking issues that are not minor when you're dealing with some federal laws. And also the way the state is doing this is the state is letting towns do almost anything they want, how to regulate it via zoning. But the state can put a municipal tax on it. But also money that the state raised, there's a big process that goes into, I think that's some type of social equity board that then sends the money back out, mostly to the cities. So there's a big involved process behind the scenes as far as how the state is going to be generating taxes and how the state regulates it. I believe that's part of why the state is not listing this as just do it under ag, because the state is very much regulating it. So there's a lot of flow of money into the state for it. So in order to do that, it had to, in a sense, not fall under just pure ag rules, the way the state law is. And everything that's gone into it. So
That could actually get kind of complex because, it could be considered agricultural if you're going to grow it. It could be considered agriculture if you're going to grow it and sell it for sale. But
At the farm stand.
if I produce milk and sell beef and I sell it to Stop and Shop, does that make Stop and Shop agriculture? So if you're selling it to somebody that's going to sell it commercially, it has nothing to do with growing it. They're buying the product. They're not agricultural. If they are, then there's a lot of stores that ought to be called agricultural.
and for personal use, you are allowed a certain number of mature plants and juvenile plants. There's some, they have rules.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was a division in there that you could get a license for growing it, but the license for selling it was different. I mean, you can't do both.
Well, the state is looking at hybrid also.
Okay.
So the plan from the state, and it's a very big bill. The plan that the state had was to, at some point, see what could happen with hybrid, because you look at what other states are doing. But they had to start somewhere. But the latest news that's come out from the state is that that a lot of these entities that want to look into it are already hybrid entities. And so they may, and so the way the state is regulating it and licensing it and getting the fees, that, you know, they have a whole process. It's a lot of money as far as the state is going to generate. So that, I believe that's one of the reasons it doesn't fall under ag. Also, in that is a whole bunch of provisions about what happens with certain criminal records for possession of marijuana. It's a big bill that gets into a lot of stuff, and that's why it didn't fall under ag. It had a multi-pronged purpose to it, and this was one of them. Was the commercial sale.
It's my understanding it was supposed to start on the 1st of July, correct? So retail, that's the 1st of July, but somehow it got pushed back to January 5th.
Well, the issue is the state didn't get a lot of its stuff together as far as what, so what happens is the law went into effect, and the wisdom of the legislature was let the agencies then come up with all the rules. Problem is, it's such a monster piece of legislation with so many moving parts. It's been taking various agencies time to get stuff together. So it's not a surprise they have to push this back. But they have announced already a number of ones that have passed through some of the processes.
I think there's 6 altogether, 3 of them are on the chain.
Yeah.
So it's got to be almost a big business to buy in.
Yeah, it's not minor. And then to make certain you're doing it the way that it needs to be done to meet all of the safety regulations, and OSHA, not OSHA, whatever the state version of OSHA is, and air quality and water quality, all that stuff. It is a involved process with the state. That's a lot of money to get through that process. And that's why this financial backers or you know, these businesses that really are set up.
There might be other avenues to licensing. In Thompson, where I work on the other days of the week, they're constructing a recreational dispensary, and he's trying to receive his licensing through, I think it's a diversity program or lottery, a diversity lottery rather than through the bank.
Well, that's part of what they did. So when they created this, they wanted to make certain that they preferentially tried to deal with underserved areas, but areas where there was quote unquote, in the words of the legislation, injustice because of the war on drugs. And so a lot of that is towards the cities. And that social equity fund is designed more to redistribute money to the cities, to right whatever wrongs the legislature
It's
finds.
underserved.
Well, a lot of it
Cities
is
have a
cities.
lot of drugs.
Basically,
Bring it to areas that
a lot of it is urban
Drugs.
centers. And so if you see where a lot of, and so in this system of lottery and getting the licenses, there is a weighted system. So if you can get in through the diversity or whatever the formula they use, you get a bit higher on the list to be approved than someone who is not per se.
I don't believe they have received their licensing yet, but this building is sort of being constructed on spec. But I think they must rate their chances as very good. They've been working on this project for a while. I don't think they quite have the 2nd floor framed up yet, but the building's going up. But I think they've been working on their licensing approach for quite a while. And I'm confident that there might be other opportunities for other people. Woodstock, I don't know how that program allows. Site.
Yeah, and I've been hearing that there may be some tweaks coming up into the legislation to make it work better. So I'm sure my Senate office, I'll have stack of stuff about it. But I've already heard that they're looking to try to make the system work better. That what they put on paper and now what they're doing is not working the way they want it or flowing the way they want it. So it sounds like there's going to be a bunch of tweaks and things like that to make it more accessible.
Just trying to understand, do you know if the Thompson Town Planning and Zoning approved that prior to a license, or because of the diversity application, it doesn't need the approval?
That's, it did go through planning and zoning, but I don't know that, how they, the nature of how they approved it conditionally or.
And then the town of Thompson already has some cannabis regulations.
That I haven't had a chance to work with over there, so I
Interesting.
don't know. I can, though, it's pertinent to what we're doing. I'm gonna, when I'm in the office tomorrow,
Right.
see what I can find.
Okay.
And share that.
Even if they approved it, the state ultimately has to give whatever license it gives anyway, so.
You could provide a practical approach to handle applications here. Thompson's mechanism.
Listen to Springfield radio station where it is. There was a grow facility or some processing facility in Western Massachusetts. This girl that worked there that had asthma. Something with respiratory problem, but very sick, and she possibly died. Anyways, before she could get involved with finding them for she died actually.
Well, people don't realize, and there's been data for a long time on this, that smoking marijuana actually does have quite a bit of, can over time have damage to the lungs. We all know cigarettes build up carbon monoxide in the blood, and we can directly measure that. People who smoke marijuana can have higher levels, actually. I can see it in my practice when I have to evaluate certain things. You can actually see it. And yes, there is that concern of chronic exposure to a lot of it, just like there can be to other substances. I mean, that can happen to farmers. You know, so stuff gets in. So I'm sure OSHA has rules.
Thompson did adopt cannabis regulations in October 21.
So we'll just need to get a copy out to everybody on that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so it sounds like there'll be a bunch of stuff coming out. So we'll put that then on the January 19th meeting then.
There's a little table that I made that has all of the results for our towns. And some of the towns I reached out to that hadn't responded, so I'm gonna update as I get responses.
So stuff will go out. So I'll send out the Wellington one, and then you can send out the Thompson one. The deal, you have the stuff you sent out.
She's already
Send out.
sent it out again.
Oh, you just
Send
sent
it
it?
out from my phone here.
Okay. So, so then we'll take that back up then. Did people get, what was the deal you also had, did you email out to people? I don't know what happened then about stuff that you wanted to get about what other places are doing about Airbnbs. Did people get those?
I sent it to you guys, I thought.
Okay, I just assumed it was a group email. I didn't. Okay, so I guess
Send
we're,
them out directly next time.
so I guess we're in the same boat as we are about cannabis. If folks didn't get all the stuff that Delia has from different towns, different cogs about Airbnbs, and we wanted to get information on that. Unless there's an objection, we can also put that on for January 19th and give a chance of people to get it and to review through it. That's okay with you all? Okay. So then we'll go accordingly with that then. I did not have anything else on, other than, well, I get it, that gets under CEO report, which I'll get into next.
I'm sorry, Joe, just jump in for a second. One, I wanted to make a correction on a comment that I did get that amendment to the ordinance establishing. It was in the package. So
Okay.
other people may.
It's
have it.
buried amidst the application almost.
Yes.
Okay, so good.
And thank you. But secondly, we have a minute or two. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions about that the driveway. I know it was done and it was real easy, and I think that's fine, but I'm looking at it more as an opportunity for improvement in how the office and the commission handles request. And I know this was 1995 as a subdivision, but in Delia's note, there were two questions or two comments that she made. And this is, I'm quoting, with the lack of site development plans with details on how the driveways were to be put in, there's no way to show what previous approval involved to the driveways. So I don't know if that's an improvement the commission needs to be looking at in reviewing subdivision applications, that there's a little bit more information so that this is the 1995, the previous century's application. An applicant has to come through this process, which was probably a little onerous and costly to have his engineer look at the surveys and find out where the driveways are and come up with a plan and come up with an application to modify it. Whereas if there was clarity in the subdivision plans and the installation of the driveway for lot 11 at that point in time, this could have been avoided. So it's just an opportunity for improvement of how things are processed. And then the second one comment, again on Delia's, and I'm just quoting, as far as I understand it, the driveway to house on 521 Parent Road was actually put in partially on the access strip portion of lot 10, which is what we saw. And again, I'm just wondering if that's a site review as the construction's going on to make sure lot lines are respected and driveways go where they're supposed to go, so it doesn't go on somebody else's land. And just thinking that that's, as I say, an opportunity for improvement, not trying to assess blame or point fingers, just saying, this is what happened in 1995. This is something that's coming 20 years later to be addressed by somebody, and something that could be done better.
Yes, I was a junior in high school when that subdivision was
Okay.
approved, so I bear no responsibility for it.
Okay, and I'm not,
Today, all the sheets of the plans that show lot lines and how lots are developed, those are supposed to be filed. The sheets that show test pits and stuff like some of that stuff at the end of the plans you look at, they are not always filed unless they have something that needs to be filed on the land record. So we should have had the plans that show the development of the lot. I don't know why we didn't.
okay.
Over reviewing old subdivisions, I've come across other ones that we don't have those filed either, and I don't know why. And I also wasn't here when that house in 521 was built. I think that was in 2000 or 2001. I didn't start until 2006, but staff is supposed to do an inspection, and the highway foreman is supposed to inspect just the part that he reviews out the apron, or if it has no apron, the part out by the road. So several inspections should have happened,
Okay.
but I don't know what actually happened back that far.
So do we have something in place in the office now and staff? Do we know things that you're saying should have been done, but did
Well,
not get
I don't
done?
work in the town anymore, so you have to ask.
All right, so I'm bringing it to your attention. just as a-
I mean, I'm not familiar with how longstanding the practices are, but everything that requires my signature, I try to apply rigor to the best of my understanding of my responsibility with it.
Okay,
But as noted, there's a whole universe of things to be uncovered of decisions of the past that something didn't have full appropriate review, that we do a lot of cleaning up like this in this profession of old mistakes, and just try not to make them on our watch.
and that's all I'm looking for, to see if processes are in place now that are checklist initial to say, these are the 10 steps we go through before we sign off on a subdivision.
There's a lot of interdepartmental approval.
We do have a checklist on that.
We do have a
I remember Delia,
checklist.
I believe, we worked that out with the building official at the town.
Yep.
Where there was a breakdown in some processes. People were approving things ahead of a certain step. Not saying you were. And I remember we were involved in updating that list and making certain steps were followed. I know when you were CEO, Tina was, there were some processes that were
Okay,
followed.
It's good to hear.
I think the building official is a big check for me. If there's some, he tells things to me and informs me of where a certain project is at, because he is very by the book and won't sign anything until it's got my approval. Okay, so that's coming into the position, it's very valuable to have him in place because he's got a high level of scrutiny for what he applies his signature to. I'm fortunate to have the health department ahead of me in some of my reviews. So some things I could see that somebody else is looking at something where I don't have the full experience, but they have experience and they're demonstrating that they've done the review and that this is apt to my situation. There's some checks, but there's also the opportunity for things to slip too. Fortunately, we're in a slow season, slowing, and I'm able to sit down with the plans that come across my desk and go out in the site and go out with the roller and measure distances. But I haven't had a driveway yet that I've had to measure up. Okay, so like this, it's a good reminder.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And just one final quick question. This list that came to us about the abutters to the driveway, any particular reason?
Those are duplicates. People own more than one lot.
Okay, all right. So,
Okay. Under ZEO reports, anything from the office point of view or otherwise? We have, I don't know if there's any permits and enforcement stuff.
So I did pass around, this is sheet here, with this blue sidebar. This is we're migrating all the information we can find everywhere from our subdivision registry, bond lists into one Microsoft Excel document that we can navigate around very quickly through hyperlinks. But this, what I've given in front of you is just, this is our receipt log of actions that we had to issue a receipt for. I couldn't quite put together, sort out the whole zoning permit, but it's short.
we got this on the desk, on the table. Did the people on Zoom see this?
I don't know, is that, we'll just want to make certain we can get a copy.
I could get one to Doug and Dwight.
Is it, so it's not online?
I don't believe
Okay.
it's online. It was,
So we'll get a
Tracy and I
copy to
printed
them.
this up today.
Okay.
One thing I noticed is that there's a renewal of a home occupation. What is that home occupation? It's not a
That
new one.
I have to
Okay.
get more data on, but I think it was,
So did they use when they got a renewal, was that they're using the new form? Or was that before the new form?
I believe it was on the first on the new form.
Okay.
But we've transitioned from mostly zoning permits. Now people are seeking their wetlands approvals in anticipation of building for next year. So it's been a shift in the land use questions to some degree. I do have zoning board of appeals applications. But this is just the log of what we've taken in since beginning of October.
So we don't have any new home occupation applications. for us to
Nothing,
look at yet.
nothing complete.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
So you'll let us know. And then
we take a lot of questions about like these types of things, and so there theoretically is a lot in the wind. Maybe people are gauging application and having a home occupation, or trying to figure out, if this is what they want to do. But otherwise, it's been quiet on that front. If we are considering that bed and breakfast operations that are going around They're still incomplete applications. Fully reviewed. Paul, our building official, has been out the last couple weeks. And some of the questions regarding the bed and breakfast, finalizing the bed and breakfast inspection on his is been put on hold.
But they do need to be coming into compliance, though.
Yeah.
At some point, they have to.
Yeah,
Some
it's-
timeframe.
Paul is the final check in the approval on the bed and breakfast. So I need the ability to confer with him as to where he's at, because I've taken the fee, I've received the health department approval, and what they've presented meets the regulation that is allowed in the Lake District. Where these particular applications are originated. The fire marshal has inspected the sites, but I haven't had Paul for since last Monday, so I haven't seen him in 2 weeks.
I'm sure he missed.
Yeah, I'm sure I hope he's getting better. I think he's been out.
Anything from the enforcement point of view, or where we stand? I know we touched upon the Airbnb, but anything from enforcement and
From Airbnb, Tracy Mountain's mail has been returned yet again on the address that the Lake Association provided, the address that we got from the finance department, and the address listed on the vision database. So none of those addresses work. I have been told that her house is up for sale. So I don't know if the primary Airbnb that's been complained about is going to solve itself to some degree, but they're not getting they're not getting the certified mail. So they don't even have a mailbox at the house on the lake. So I could leave a door hanger, but they might be moving. And I've heard there was only one gathering at Thanksgiving recently, so I think the problem's toning down. But two other Airbnb are seeking bed and breakfast classification, and their operations. There's an on-site owner, and that's purposes they're operating as bed and breakfasts. So they list on the website Airbnb.
we with Supreme Sheds, have they?
So Supreme
submitted
Sheds,
An application?
been trying to understand the situation here, and I've got a lot of communication from Ashley and Deb. I believe it might be Deb Scranton,
Nielsen.
Nielsen,
The old Scranton shops at that property up there.
and we're trying to suss out what the commission wants to receive for a type of permit application.
I thought we had decided that already. Quite some time ago, wasn't it a requirement for a special permit?
A special
We had
permit.
decided that.
Okay.
I don't know what meeting it was.
Because Deb's still didn't, the email chain that she left me from Ashley kind of states that the commission is still mixed on which type of application.
The commission decided
Okay,
what it wanted. I forget
so
the date of it, but the commission very much decided.
for full clarity, you're seeking a special permit application.
That's my understanding of what the commission decision was.
I think that was back in July, August.
I think they submitted in May.
I think it was the second meeting in May.
May.
Yeah, we did have a meeting on, their application is dated May 4th, and we denied their zoning permit, their non-residential zoning permit application on June 16th.
Okay.
And at that meeting, the decision was it needed to be a special permit.
There's no lack of clarity, Dan.
Okay, no, I just don't have the full record.
The meeting minutes from June 16th should,
I sent her an email with all of the details, so I'm gonna look for that and I'll send it to, forward it to you.
but it should be pretty clear what we said back on that June meeting. Here it is. I thought we were very clear on the record about it. Was my understanding. Let me just see here what we have. In the July minutes. We have-
Do you have an email?
Here it is, from June 16th. We went through, here it is, Supreme Sheds. There was a motion made to deny the application dated May 4th. It said here that based on the decision made by the commission, a special permit is required. So it's very much in the record. It was what the commission wanted. So they have been notified. At least Mr. Gabon himself was aware of it. Yes, Delia?
She emailed me on November 15th asking what they should do. I responded that they need to speak to Dan as he is the new zoning enforcement officer. And stated it is my understanding they exceed what they were allowed to do with their existing zoning permit. Not coming into compliance may lead to an enforcement issue, thus I strongly urge you and or them to speak to Dan and determine what they need to do to come back into compliance or to seek a special permit. If they decide to seek the special permit, they can have their engineer or surveyor contact me with any questions on what needs to be submitted. She responded, okay, thank you, I will pass this along, this information to Andrew, and I may have Richard talk to Dan since we are owners of the property. That was Tuesday, 11/15, so she knows.
So I think one just has to follow up with them to remind them. Commission was very clear, it wanted a special permit.
So are they confused about the permit terminologies?
I don't know, you have to talk to them and find out what they're confused about.
I would talk to them, but and that they
They've
very
been
clear by
notified
this commission that a special
numerous
permit
times.
is what's required. If they're not in compliance, and they need to submit.
Okay.
So,
And
So,
their original permit, which was a retail permit, a non-residential permit for retail sales,
okay,
gave them the allowance to build 6 model sheds or 1,200 square feet worth of model sheds, whichever was smaller, to be models that are on the property.
not continuing production.
Correct. And not to transport them off the property. The applicant had indicated that the intention was to build the sheds at the customer sites. That he would apply. The original permit was to continue a retail permit, but allow obviously the building of some models to show customers and not to move any off the property. And we have said in the different discussions that the applicant is still allowed to proceed based on the original permit, which is clearly not being followed. And up to 8 or 9 sheds at a time being constructed. So it's worth reminding the applicant that they can still work there, but they have to comply with the original application, which was a retail type application. Well, I shouldn't say retail, a non-residential.
so you'll
Retail
just
does
follow up
require
with
a
them
special permit.
to let them know that it's clear what the commission is requiring.
Reiterate Delia's email advice to her.
I've sent it to you too. so you
Yeah.
have it.
Okay.
Who gets the
But,
notifications, the property owner or the applicant? Or both?
The property owner.
Property owner. So the property owner is Deb Nelson, the one theoretically. And
Yeah,
Why
they
like
own that
Send
whole
it to
property.
both, but ultimately the property owner is the one who's responsible for what's going on in the property.
okay.
So one will just have to follow up with them.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's been going on for some time, and they just need to be brought into compliance, and the pathway for what they want to do is submit the special permit.
I also needed I needed to understand the type of permitting there because it was my interpretation initially that what they were doing there in the first place would have required a special permit. And I thought they needed a modification of their special permit since
Right.
that was referenced in meeting minutes from, I think, last September.
Well, there was a separate permit issue to be able to have a house on that property, mixed use.
Yep.
And then the property owners never filed what they needed to file, it became void. They were notified, but they didn't want to pursue it anyway, and they were fine with us voiding it. So that permit is separate from what Supreme Sheds is doing.
That's not void because they didn't file the Mylar.
Well, they didn't, and we took a vote to void it.
So now it's nothing.
Yeah, we voided it. We had to take that step, and they knew it, and they were fine with it. They decided not to pursue what they had gotten approval for, so. it
This
is-
original permit goes back, it has now 2020. It's either December or January. It's 2 years. So.
All right, I can reiterate what Delia told Deb to pass to Andrew. And that's fairly clear of what is expected. And then I hope to have an application presented to you. for
Okay.
decision.
We'll go accordingly. then.
It's difficult being in the office just 2 days a week. Preparing for 4 meetings a month in the 8 days that I'm in the office, it's there's urgent matters that come about, and then the research stuff has to get set to the side for the immediate need of the day. And enforcement, I mean, I hate to say it, my title is zoning enforcement officer, but enforcement has kind of been relegated to the 3rd tier, while other matters have taken dominance over that. And I apologize, I don't have them here yet, and this is ongoing. But I think we'll see resolution on it once the facts and the direction is clear. And I think this is the approach that I needed to confirm to be able to pass that along confidently.
Well, thank you. And I'm not blaming you, but you know, we did go from a situation where we had a CEO 4 days a week. CEO 2 days a week. So I'm not blaming you, but you know, it is crunching a lot just. for 2 days.
It's
So it wasn't, the commission didn't ask for that. The commission had advocated for 4 days, but that was a separate decision brought about elsewhere. Move that direction. I was discussing it with the commission at the time. Appreciate you doing it, Jerry.
Thank you.
So, we have budget review and bills. This is the time of year that we have to review and propose a budget for fiscal year, next fiscal year. I did send out an email, 2-page document about a proposal. What I sent out was basically the proposal for the fiscal year, next fiscal year, based upon the numbers we're doing now. We had been blamed prior fiscal year that we were going quote unquote over notices. But it was pointed out that when you cut our budget, unlike notices, many of which we have no choice but by state statute to publish. And if you cut our budget, which they didn't let us know on that, then we do the work and of course we're gonna go over. But in the scheme of things, we really didn't go over because our budget is very small and it's not as if we went over the entire budget. And even when it was mentioned several times to Board of Finance, they had no issue. You don't even see our budget in the big budget. So, you know, the budget that we have for the current fiscal year, the breakdown in the numbers is what I just put in for a proposal for next fiscal year. Reminding them that we do have money, right now it's around 13,500 in that POCD account to use. And previously, I forget when I had that discussion with the Board of Finance some years ago, that if that number drops too low for the POCD account, the Board of Finance can look to see about bringing it back up, because that's money that's earmarked for us to do that type of work. For example, when we updated the housing plan, we used money from that account, because that update can also be used towards POCD update.
So that's for the $6,000.
There was money that, from that account, correct? Yep. And the Board of Finance knew that's what we were using, and it's perfectly fine to use that. The legal item, I know previously we were getting complaints that we were quote unquote overusing it. I challenged that privately and publicly. I continue to disagree with others, not saying others on this commission. We feel we went over, they still not told us that we really, factually that we did. Won't go into all those details because we brought that up before. But we always have been mindful of using, when we use the town attorney, but when there's times we need to use the town attorney, we have to use it. Including when we're, if we do any big tests, and that is that we need to make certain is legal and have the town attorney do. So I think in the past, when we needed to use the town attorney, we've used the town attorney appropriately, we've been doing so now.
Yep.
And previously, folks were in on the loop on it, and we're still, folks are, in the loop. You're in the loop, Gary's in the loop when needed. So it is appropriate when we have to do it. So that is a combined budget. So we're gonna keep that as a combined budget. Where it doesn't show under P and Z, but it shows under, I think, the ZEO budget. So, that amount was 8,000. I think in a prior year it was 11. That created a problem when it dropped from 11 to 8, and we were needing to use the town attorney for various legitimate things. Suddenly we go over. I explained it to the Board of Finance, and they understood that if you have to ask the town attorney, you have to ask the town attorney, you know. So, but right now it's at 8,000, so, you know, we'll see where that goes, but I'll open it up. Technically, we've taken a vote on this proposal, and then I send it to Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and to the treasurer will get a copy, but it goes also to now that finance department. Delia?
I'm just curious, when they say you're over on legals, did they ever check what your revenues are compared to what they had projected?
No,
if you
so,
have more revenues coming in, maybe they should take the revenues and add it to your legal, so they can do more legal. cases.
So what happens-
Causing a problem.
no, they haven't, and this was brought up, I brought this up to their attention to say, you're saying we're going over, which really wasn't a lot, to be honest with you. Yet, when we take a look at what is brought in for, you know, when things are charged for fees and things like that, that doesn't get credited to us. So it makes it, they make it sound like that, oh, we go over, but yet when fees are coming in, it gets put into a different part of the budget. I did ask how that could be accounted for to show the in and the out. But that's a little bit more involved than to try to do, but it was brought to attention that, hey, you're just looking at one part and it's small, but money that's coming in, you know, it actually shows that we're really not going wildly over, but they sit in two different parts of the budget or the ins and outs. So just to focus only on our expenses really doesn't truly focus on it, but that's been brought to the attention. And the Board of Finance actually knows that. And so they're aware of it. So, Joe?
Yes, just want to comment that I think the budget proposal is fine. I'd only like to see if we want to add something to this document or to have a separate document requesting more consideration for the ZEO time to increase the amount of time the ZEO works for the town. I know that's not our budget, but if we can have some input to
Yes.
the town leaders to say it's hard for the ZEO to do the job is necessary.
Yes, and I think that is appropriate. You know, we had advocated in the budget to maintain 4 days a week. Unknown to us, we weren't asked about it. And again, nothing about you personally, this is just more about what happened.
I get it.
Nothing about you. Suddenly it gets 2 days a week, and now we have the clerk who's what, 4 half days.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yes, it is very legitimate for us. Previously, we had advocated, remember when the land use department got decimated? We were advocating to rebuild it. We can certainly advocate and see where things might go. And there's a separate, so what happens is this document you have isn't what gets submitted. There's a separate document that I submit every year that's lengthier. And it goes through, this is why we're doing what we're doing, and please don't start cutting us without talking with us. This is why we have to do certain things. It's like 3 or 4 pages that get sent every year. In that, prior, we had advocated for maintaining a 4-day-a-week, and that was relayed. And we can do that when we relay a document then to them. To say if we feel that we would like to see about 4 days, or however we want.
Maybe we should put for 6, so then they can.
There you go. We'll compromise.
So,
Well,
yes, we-
understand how available he is.
Correct.
That's the
That's a
issue.
fact.
So when I applied, I was only looking for one, they broke it into part-time responsibilities and
Yeah,
was either interested in the wetlands or zoning. I couldn't do both. I worked 20 hours a week in Thompson, and that's a full-time 20 hours. It pays my benefits. I like the position. And I do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it would be challenging for me I understand completely though the operational needs of the land use department, and they're not being filled.
does that mean 2 part-time people maybe?
That, it could be.
That's an approach.
I think that would also allow, I'm administering 4 different commission meetings on top of the ones I do in Thompson too. And a breakout of some of the responsibilities would be welcome to me. I didn't anticipate doing the full spectrum of land use commission responsibilities. I initially only wanted just one or the other. And they asked if I could try to do that. And then they asked Ashley for a breakdown of the hours per each responsibility. And it seemed feasible to both sides initially, but there was just unexpected business or things unexpectedly coming back around again. That would be more complex reviews and require more labor hours in the department. For example, ZBA had only met once this past year, and I've got an application for Monday. I've also got a conservation meeting in Thompson on Monday at the same time. But also other ZBA applications that are being prepared right now, and more meetings in the last few months than they've had in a couple of years.
So I'll just go back to you, Jeff, whether it should be a separate memo if the commission agrees. Maybe for myself right now, but if the commission agrees that we need to emphasize to the Board of Selectmen that there's need for additional help in the land use office, whether it's a second part-time CEO or administrators, staff clerical help that could take off some of the burden, but
So we have for the past month and a half now, Tracy Giarusso,
yeah,
helping us 4 hours a day on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And she's helpful now for getting the packets together, keeping the logs of the types of permits we receive. Every day she's learning a new clerical function. Email lists for commissions, acting as an intermediary for my work, as well as handling the phone. So the clerical help has helped immensely. But there is still a lot of land use matters that she can't help.
So just so people know, behind the scenes, every year, and I update this, it's a 4-page letter that goes to the selectmen, the Board of Finance, to the Director of Finance. Previously, it was the treasurer. That spells out kind of the same wording every year about why we're doing what we're doing in a sense. Because they want us to kind of, somewhat of formalities, justify why we're proposing what we're proposing. In there, I always do advocate to make certain that we have the staffing and resources for the land use department, that they are important. The operation of the commission's business for the people of and for businesses and stuff. So however we wish to continue to advocate for that, we can continue to do that. Certainly, more than just me speaking with, say, the Board of Finance and the selectmen would be helpful. Have them continue to hear, what we feel we need and what, your perspective is as far as the work that needs to be, done for that office. Because, It's just not the commission. This commission generates the bulk of the work for the land use department. But you're right, there's inland wetlands and there's EPA that generates work as well that does require time.
So I've also been able to utilize Tina LaJoy by email for kind of consultation on procedural and older projects, just for the institutional knowledge that she has on some of these things. But I think she is only available like a limited 10. Wow, they didn't tell me 10.
10 hours.
So they're paying for her? Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I thought it was much more
We
limited
don't
than that.
tend to hear of these things.
The land use, 10 hours of the
Okay.
land use office or, yeah, okay.
Okay, so we had an initial kind of conference to kind of suss out some of the needs of the department. We had her for our first time in the office this past Tuesday for a couple hours. So I didn't know that it was going to be 10 hours a week, but she is not. We discussed some of what she was willing, how she was willing to help. She's not willing to do reviews or sign.
Well, keep in mind, we have not voted for her to be our agent.
Yeah.
So legally,
So,
she can't do
yes.
this.
My impression is that she's just going to be consulting us, but I hadn't heard that there was an hour amount, and that could be more than I thought.
That can certainly be helpful. But if she were to want to get into having to sign things and do
Yeah.
things, we would need to know, because technically, and Rich Roberts has told us this before, we have to take a vote, just like we voted for you to be our agent.
She
could
expressed no interest whatsoever in doing that
Okay.
because it would complicate her other professions.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept this proposed budget as presented, if that's what you're looking for.
We would need to, so that way we can officially say it's
Second.
an approved proposal. Is that you, Tim? Yeah. So motion by Joe Adela, second by Tim Young, to approve the proposed commission budget for fiscal year 23-24. Any further discussion on it? I'll go through the roll. Joe Adela, aye. Mark Blackmer. Aye. Jeff Gordon, aye. Jeff Marcotte. Aye. Joe Palula.
Aye.
Doug Porter.
Aye.
Dwight Reinowitz.
Aye.
That so passes. So what I'll do is I'll just update the letter I sent last year, and we'll revise some things and send it in this year. I certainly encourage folks, if there's anything you want to speak to, either the selectmen when they have their budget meetings and also the Board of Finance relative to the land use department, by all means. I think the more they hear from us, the better. I know when they heard from a lot of us after the land use department was decimated, there was the effort to move things back up and try to reconstitute things. So there's a lot of work that gets done. So that is good to hear then that Tina is there to help relative to certain things.
Yep,
So that's good.
it's helping us get clear direction in our protocols.
So that's good, because I did raise some concern that that's a lot to put on your plate for just 2 days a week. So I'm glad. that
It's
there's been-
overwhelming at times.
I'm glad that there's been some effort now to try to, I think realize that going from 4 days a week, to 2 days a week, that's cramming the same amount of work into half the hour, that's tough. So that is tough. I mean, given how busy that is, on your way then to your job at Thompson, you might have to stop by that recreational marijuana place just to get you to that.
Yeah, when is it gonna be done?
We have citizens' comments, but there's no citizens. Well, we have citizens. but-
I'm glad to see it's added to the agenda, so.
I did.
Good.
Wait, I don't know. Do you have proof that you're a citizen?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to share, with anyone who doesn't know, there's a tri-board meeting in January. January 17th with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and Board of Education for preempting budget season. So if anyone is interested, it is January 17th. It's a Tuesday, 6 o'clock at the middle school. And there is an open public forum starting at 7 immediately after that meeting for discussion.
I think some of that discussion is relative to Proposition 46.
It's all budget, I think,
Yeah.
but yes,
I think that's because that, one of the selectmen's came actually not wanting to.
just wanted to share in case anyone didn't know about it.
Thank you. We don't have any correspondence. I'm sad to say, no one wants to write to us. Mr. Young, did you have anything to speak to about agenda item 13?
I moved to adjourn.
I would second that.
Okay, a little nervous there that you were slow to second, but
Yeah.
we'd have to wake you up and prod you. So we have a motion by Young, seconded by Blackmer. What a surprise. To adjourn the meeting. No discussion on that. I do have to go through the roll because we have some people on. Zoom. Joe Adaletta?
Aye.
Mark Blackmer?
Aye.
Jeff Gordon, I'm gonna vote aye on that. Jeff Markot, how do you vote?
I note that Mr. Young has stated before that he's always at the end. Mr. Atwood is at the beginning. I just want to know why everybody know, I'm always in the middle.
I have it alphabetical, so I can rearrange it if you want. Yes, that's right.
I like my position.
Joe Pulak, how do you vote? Doug Porter,
Aye.
Mike Reinowitz,
Aye.
do you want to make that unanimous?
Aye.
Without objection, we're adjourned whatever time you have. Thank you, everybody. I wish you all good holidays. And we'll see you in the brand new year.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Good to see you.
Same
Dwight.
to you.
What happened? Adjournment? I can't watch all these nights.
I didn't know that. you-
According to, we're up to 10 hours.
A month or a week.
Which is good because I think they realize. But I know you're doing as good as you can.
No, I
don't.
As I speak to one of my coworkers, there is an idiot. He doesn't.
I know,
he
that's
doesn't-
months ago. Trying to get the day checked It's always helpful.